Hey guys, welcome to MPS Up. It's kind of a play on words with messed up and the acronym for my disease, which is MPS. I'll try not to bore you with that sort of thing, but it will be about some of the other messed up things out there that need a bit more attention. At least I think so. Specifically, a lot of the not so much mentioned genetic diseases out there. So if you guys have any suggestions of diseases that not many people know about, comments down below and let me know, and I'll do some research on it. So that's what this episode is going to be about, is my, all about me. I really don't want to make it all about me, but I got this idea from, family members who feel that I should write a book or kind of document some of the things that I've encountered in my life. Due to recent events, I kind of feel like, that it's probably a good idea. I recently suffered acute respiratory failure. I am doing better. I was wearing an oxygen tube. I technically shouldn't be without it right now, but I'm kind of doing it anyway. I will get doctor's approval, don't worry, sooner or later. So anyway, my particular disease is called Mucopolysaccharidosis. Yay for doctor terms. It's MPS 1 for short. I lived life nonchalantly or blissfully unaware of the severity of some of the symptoms or the severity of the disease itself. The time I was born, I was constantly reminded that I would either be deaf, blind, retarded, in a wheelchair, that I would just be a person living being by the age of 12. Happily or luckily, a lot of the symptoms never really arose until more recently. Some people might say I'm retarded, but I had slapped them. I'm the one who went to college. So to better explain how the disease works, MPS is known as a lysosomal storage disorder, or LSD. No, not a drug. What happens is, think of your body as a city. And when buildings go out of date, they're torn down, and sometimes the materials are even reused. That's what your body does when a cell dies. It disposes of the parts and it can't use. What happens with MPS is that we're born without an enzyme that disposes of two particular molecules within the cell. These are sugar molecules. That's why they call it saccharide. And since there's two, that's where the word poly comes in. Poly means more than one. Muco has to do with the mucousy type substance or texture of the cell. What ends up happening is the garbage starts to build up around the city, inhibiting a lot of the traffic and functions of the city. So the same thing happens with the body, especially during the developmental stages of your life. What ends up happening is the cells, or these particular molecules, start building up all over the place. More specifically, early on is the joints, tendons, bones, and as things go on, can also start building up in the intestines, colon, and even the heart, specifically around the valves. MPS actually has quite a few variations. Mine is called MPS 1, which actually contains about 3 variations within itself. Mine is called Shay's syndrome, and it's a bit more physical. So I really had a lot of problems early on. It actually started around the age of 3. I had a lot of flexibility issues and stuff like that. Distended stomach, I had a pot belly. The other variations within MPS 1, specifically Hurler, is a bit mental. That's why they said I would possibly be mentally retarded by the age of 12. It wasn't until about the age of 6 that they really started getting an idea of my particular situation. And actually, in 2007, the MPS Society, along with a particular company who funded research into treatment of the disease called Genzyme, did a study which showed that it wasn't until the age of 9 that the disorder was properly diagnosed. That's a long time. Another statistic is that the average age of people with my particular disorder is about 13 years old. Now I'm 27. I only know of a handful of people with with MPS in general, maybe 50 in the world. That's really kind of rare. They say 1 out of every 50,000 children are born with MPS. If the average age is 13, I'm doing pretty well. Yeah. It's scary to think about sometimes. There currently is treatment for a few of the different variations of MPS, in which I go to the hospital once a week, every week, for the rest of my life, and receive 5 hours of an infusion. What the treatment is supposed to do is at least slow down and hopefully reverse some of the symptoms. It wasn't until I was 16 that the study even came out to see if this drug was useful. So a lot of the physical damage had already been done. There is actually one other person who has MPS, which has actually received quite a lot of publicity because he's a YouTube star. His name is Keenan, and he does a lot of singing with stars and stuff like that. So, he's doing pretty well for himself. He's younger than I am. He actually has MPS 6, I think. In total, I think there's probably about 8 different variations. The higher you go in the scale, the least likely you are to survive. There's actually a variation called Sanfilippo, and it seems like, once a week, once a month, there's always a kid dying or who has died, and they were only maybe 6, 8 years old. So my heart goes out to the families out there who have, suffered a loss by one of the variations that had it worse than I did. That's it for today. I don't know how often I will make these. I'm trying to come up with something completely unique, something that would interest you guys. I don't know, you guys are hard to really please, especially with big guys that I look up to, like Philly D, or SXC Phil, CTfxC, Shaytards, and the Shaytards. Those guys have done really well, and but it just seems like they live more interesting lives than I do. In future episodes, I'll get into some of the stuff that I do. I'm a student, and I've made I have 2 startups. I'm trying to see which one will stick. Seems like I'm pretty busy, but I never really get out as much as I want to. So I'll try to come up with stuff that kind of gets your attention, or it may be just me sitting here talking at the camera for 10 minutes, just updating people on what's going on. Links down below to the websites so you can learn more about MPS. Be sure to let me know about any other diseases out there that need more awareness. Be happy to do research and spread the word about it. Again, my name is Travis, and I'll be sure to come up with a better ending than